Our goal really here is just to show them that the science is there. It's usable. If you want to use it and you want to use it to enforce, it can be.
I'm in Manila and have been invited to attend the 2023 Philippine Coffee Expo. It's a coffee gathering that serves industry professionals and enthusiasts alike with programming for both groups. In the hall, I noticed Mel Garcia, director of De La Salle University's Food and Water Institute, promoting coffee and cacao traceability, and I wanted to learn more.
So the Coffee and Cacao Traceability project is part of a bigger program on food authenticity and traceability. This is a joint project, the LSU, De La Salle University, La Salle Food and Water Institute, and the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute. In this project on coffee and cacao, we analyze the multi-element profile of the seeds as well as the stable isotope ratios, because these are information that are very specific to a particular place and general conditions. For example, you could just imagine this seed, for example, if you analyze the different elements in this bean, the elements that you would find and the amount that would be present is the result of what's in the soil, what's in the water, and also affected by the conditions around the shrub or the tree, because the conditions also affect the way that these elements would be absorbed or assimilated by the plant. In a sense, when you get this data, it represents the area as well as the period where it was cultivated. The combinations of those elements and the elements that are present there serves as the harvest period specific profile or fingerprint of the seed. That's essentially the science behind it. And the only way that you can actually duplicate that is if that seed would be planted in exactly the same conditions. That would be almost impossible to do. You'd have to duplicate the soil chemistry, the soil type, the weather, everything. So essentially what you get there is fingerprint. The nice thing about this is, unlike what many people stereotypically think about science tools, is that this is quite executable on a commercial scale, because the sample preparation is very simple. You have your coffee seed, your cacao seed, you grind it. Very little intervention, no chemical additional reagents are involved. Put it in an instrument and then the instrument reads the data.
Once you read the data, what are you supposed to do with it?
All right, now when we get the data, of course we carry out statistical analysis to see if there is indeed some clustering, just to prove that the multi-elemental profile is region specific. It does have regional clustering. So for example, the multi-elemental profile of region 2 are very distinct from those of, let's say, region 3. Okay. Definitely very different from the ones that you get in Mindanao.
But cataloging all of that, what are you trying to achieve?
Now, when you have a database, the consumers, basically everyone, when they buy a pack of coffee, they just check out using the QR code and it brings them to the website where you have all of the information about this bean. Definitely, they will find the stable isotope ratio data, they will find the multi-elemental profile data, together with other information that the people who submitted them gave us. So if they gave us information about how they process it, elevation, and all of those stuff, you can also find that there. That alone already serves as the fingerprint. But if we couple it with, let's say, blockchain technology, which is something that government agencies are now trying to achieve also, you can have a real-time trace your coffee. For example, if I buy this bag and then the cooperating shop updates its inventory, then the consumers, just by looking at the website, will see if that particular batch of, let's say, Marivic Nubria is all gone. There's no reason anymore for them to see, let's say, a PCQC auction lot from Marivic to be in the market, because the one that we analyzed is supposed to be sold out already.
Is that to say that this is really, it's designed to prevent fraud?
Yes.
By the roasters?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is there a lot of that happening, do you think?
A lot, yeah. I think so. Especially now that a lot more people are now more preferential towards single origin coffees. Yeah, it does happen. And you're probably aware, of course, this is a long problem already. Let's say the Sagada brand, for example. That brand is so abused, and it just doesn't make sense that you have this much Sagada going around, and Sagada is only, small.
Right. So on the market, there's been like 2 million pounds of Sagada when there's only 20,000 pounds of production.
Yeah. That's basically it. And I think the most important, something that is typically overlooked here is that while we are after the authenticity or the traceability of the coffee, the more important but not so sexy significance of this study is safety. Because if you do not know where your coffee or your cacao is coming from, or your food in general is coming from, the question is it safe to eat?
This is something that, in order for it to be effective for the consumer, the roasters themselves would have to be on board with providing the QR code.
Yes.
If the roaster has to be involved, and and this is to prevent the roasters that are not so ethical.
Yeah.
How do you get them? Well, they're not going to go over the code to begin with. Is that correct, or?
That's very likely to happen. But this is where government agencies come in. That's why we also explain this a lot to government agencies, especially the regulatory ones. Let's say, for example, DTI, they have their consumer protection section or something.
If it's only a volunteer program but on the part of the roasters, so you have to have an enforcement arm.
This is a project/studies. We'll be able to generate the data definitely in a span of 2 years. This is still subject, of course, to the buy-in of regulating agencies. But our goal really here is just to show them that the science is there. It's usable. If you want to use it and you want to use it to enforce, it can be.
Does that require acts of Congress or just within DTI or something?
I think it's just within DTI and DA, I guess, because they're Philippine national standards. And I think IPO Philippines is also part of this policy building. Because I think IPO Philippines is the one that's taking the lead in terms of geographic identification. So if there's a buy-in from them, what I could imagine is incorporating this into the guidelines of what constitutes geographic origin. So it's really up to them. If they say that stable isotope analysis and multi-elemental profiling is a requirement for establishing the origin of product, then it becomes a rule already. This is not far from happening because in the same program that this project is part of, the honey project has already showed the way. Last October, the Philippine National Standards for Honey Authentication already incorporated stable isotope analysis as a requirement. That basically paving the way for everything else in the future. It's only a matter of time, I think, before this becomes applied to other agricultural products, particularly those where single origin or origin is of crucial importance.
So in other parts of the world, they have these things like in Italy, it's called DOC. Those are regulated by the government to be certain standard. In this situation, you've got 12 regions. If an organization wanted to petition the government and set a DOC for, let's say, Mirayan, could this identify to that nth degree?
Yes. This only becomes better when you have more samples. So let's say from region 12, you have a small sitio there where we get as much samples as we can from that region. There's a bigger chance that we'd actually be able to distinguish smaller area than the rest. Let's say, for example, you have a huge farm. I mean, let's say Mount Kitanlat, for example, you have a huge mountain range there. The soil type might be similar all throughout. The soil chemistry too. But the fact that one part is probably exposed to less sunlight and the other one more, and these are conditions that actually affect the way that the nutrients are assimilated into the plant, there's definitely theoretically a reason for being able to distinguish them.
Okay.
Yeah. We have updates about our project on our Facebook page, the Salle Food and Water Institute. Inevitably, we'll be publishing papers on this because that's the requirement also of the project. This is also a study, by the way. Just to clarify, this is not cutting edge science.
But in that respect, it's much more proven
Yep.
as an effective identification. All right, excellent.
All right.
Thank you, Mel.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, very good.